Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jason Merrill. I'm the curator of the collection at Blackbird Finery, where we sell vintage gentlemen's accessories. Today, we're going to talk about how to be dapper on a dime. Now, I want to kind of state up front that this is from my perspective as a stale, pale male. Um, I've given this talk to a bunch of different audiences, and it's always meant to be more of a conversation, a discussion, and not me just flat out lecturing. So, that being said, this is based on my experiences. And until I can get some better example images, I'm afraid you'll have to see my face a couple of times. That being said, I guess I'll go ahead and get started because the uh, biggest tip I have is to know your measurements, flat out. If you want to try and save money, it's better to buy stuff that you know is going to fit in the right places, so you're not filling up your closet with stuff that just, it looks fantastic, you got a great deal on it, but there's, you know, only so much room in a closet. And if it's not going to fit in areas that can't be adjusted, then it's just not worth spending the money, no matter how great a deal it is, unless you're planning to flip it via Poshmark or something like that. Because this is all about buying for yourself. You can flip anything if you get it and it doesn't work out, but primarily this is to outfit yourself. So the key is to know your measurements. And I will try and get like a little card put up that has space for you to write everything down. But it's also nice to have that written so you can give it to someone who's shopping for you. But I kind of learned my lesson early on. I bought a couple of things that I thought would be great, and they were either just too small or they were just too big. And they were, for example, too big in the shoulders and in the neck. And that's not something you can really adjust. I can adjust, have the sleeve lengths adjusted. I can have the waist taken in, but I can't do much about the overall width across the shoulders. So the next tip is understanding what can be altered. If you have a really good view in the spots that really matter, everything else can be tweaked here or there. I mean, this is why your Hollywood stars and influencers look great in a t-shirt and jeans. It's because they buy it to fit in the proper measurements, but then have everything else altered. They'll have the t-shirts taken in so they fit better. They'll have the jeans hemmed, taken in a little in the waist, what have you. It, and I'm losing my train of thought already. It's what time? It's good to try and make the acquaintance of a tailor, seamstress, if you can't do these things yourself. Give them something small to alter, build up a good working relationship. If you can trust them, then by all means, pick up the stuff that you know can be tweaked and run it through them. And that way you'll have, saved money on something in the long run, because you're not buying it for full price if you're picking it up at a thrift store or secondhand or what have you. And the small cost of having it altered offsets, what you would have been paying for the thing at full retail price. So this is, I have more time here. I have a lot less slides than last night because the major points aren't that many. So if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions of your own, please drop them in the chat, and we'll just, this should be a conversation and not just a lecture. Let's see, next slide I have. Yeah, learn what works best for you. Now, once again, this is a male-centric presentation because that's where I was doing my research. But for example, if you've got a particular head shape and you're looking for shirts, you want to go with the collar type that's the most flattering for your face shape and your neck. It'll accentuate the things you don't want to accentuate if you go the opposite direction. If you've got a fairly, long, thin face and you get a really long pointed collar, it's just going to make everything look longer. But if you've got a wide spread collar, it'll make your overall face look a little shorter and a little more in proportion. And I'm trying to think if I had anything else on this, but that's basically it. I mean, you know yourself. You know what you feel good in, you know what you look good in, and you know what, once again, plays to your strengths better. And go with your gut. Follow those, internal instincts, and you'll end up looking great without having to spend a bunch because you're only focusing on the things that matter to you and not just, oh, it's a great deal. So these are all kind of scattered. There's no real particular order, but another, really, really basic thing is never pay full price if you can at all help it. Wait for things to go on sale. Always hit the clearance racks first. Find the good thrift stores in your area, and just continually go and look. I mean, I've learned my lesson with thrift stores is that if you see something and it fits and you want it, you get it. Because when you go back, it's not going to be there. I lost out on a couple of really good pieces that way. Now, one of the things I look for is men's dress shirts with French cuffs, because I wear a ton of cufflinks. And what's fun about that is it's very easy to spin down a rack of shirts, and the French cuff shirts will stand out because the cuffs are twice as long as a normal cuff. So they'll be hanging below, and quickly spot them, and then check to make sure that the neck size fits everything else. Back to the sizing, I have a 16.5 neck if it's measured straight. That means I should be wearing a 17-inch shirt to give me plenty of room. Guys are always complaining they don't want to wear ties, they're always too tight. Well, it's because they've got, say, a 16.5 neck, they buy a 16.5 shirt, and then they tie the tie to that. They're tying it to their neck. They're not tying it to the shirt and leaving that space to breathe and move. When you deal with the historical detachable collars, you go yet another half size up. So if I got a 17-inch shirt that requires a collar, I would get a 17.5-inch shirt to wear with that. And that is so much more comfortable than having all of those layers right there at 16.5. And that, once again, I learned my lesson there. And when those collars, notice how this soft collar fits all the way up here at the neck. Well, when they're starched within an inch of your life, you'll end up with cuts and deep marks on the side of your neck because it's too tight. It's not being worn the way it's meant to be worn. Now, if I get a shirt that's got a 17-inch neck, my sleeves are going to be way too long. That's just I'm a weird proportion, so I know I'll have to get the sleeves shortened and maybe the body of the shirt taken in a bit, but I also know that it's going to be perfectly comfortable across the neck and shoulders. And that's the important thing, is that I'm going to be comfortable when I'm wearing this stuff. So let's see. Next. Okay. When you're out shopping and finding great deals that fit you properly, but you don't have anything else to wear them with, they're just going to be lonely in your closet. You know, they want to go outside and get some air, and they're going to be trapped in there because they just don't go with anything else. So I like to have looks in mind as I'm out shopping, so I can focus on the stuff I know I'm going to wear. You know, I know I've got a particular shirt that would go great with this colored jacket, so I'll keep an eye out for that kind of jacket. In this case, I really loved the look of Boris Karloff just casually drinking his tea. There's actually a Tumblr site dedicated to Boris Karloff drinking tea. And I really loved the look of the cricket sweater with the scarf. So that's what I have here. Is I have a cricket sweater, and it's actually a modern cricket sweater. And I've got just a darker blue ascot to go with the pale blue shirt. I've worn it a couple of different times with a couple of different shirts and a couple of different occasions. It's a really neat look with riding breeches and boots, because then it's more of a polo look. But there's also some great pictures of Karloff drinking tea in his full Frankenstein makeup, and he's got the full makeup just to the neck, bare chest, and he's got teacup with a cigarette in his hand, and he's just relaxing on the set. What's even funnier is that there's so many pictures of that. If you've seen any pictures of Guillermo del Toro's horror collection, he has life-sized wax statues.
Sorry, everybody. We seem to have lost Jason for a second. This also happened yesterday, so I think he will be right back. Yep, here he comes.
I am so sorry about that. I'm on a laptop that only has Wi-Fi. It's actually so thin, there's no space for a network cable, and I couldn't find the dongle to hook it up, because this happened Friday. But let me share my slides again.
It's those entrenched fashion people trying to stop you from giving us all the good tips.
Exactly. The man's trying to keep me down. So here we go. So back to Karloff. Basically, Del Toro has a life-size wax statue of not just Karloff in the makeup chair drinking tea, but of Jack Pierce putting the makeup on Karloff. And when I hit the lottery, I'm going to find out where he had those made, and they'll be hanging out in my living room too. So anywho, back to having a look in mind. Once again, this is examples of me, so I apologize for that, but hopefully, I'm going to pull it up and shift it so I can change slides. So I don't have a picture of it. I normally wear it when I'm doing this live, but I have a three-piece wool English city suit that I got for a steal on eBay because I knew my sizes. It wouldn't have fit anybody else. So I got it. I was pretty much the only person who bid on it because the sizes were a little off. The British cost without shipping was £12.50. So at that time, it was about $25, $30. Shipping was also about the same, but I got a full three-piece suit that I had to have nothing done to me or nothing done to it to fit me, plus a pair of shoes for less than $100. The suit was made for an individual in 1967, so it's 1 year older than I am, and it still fits me like a glove. It's in fantastic shape. The suit was made by a company called Hector Powell, and I had never heard of Hector Powell before. So I started doing some digging and some researching. I found a catalog of theirs from 1952, and it has the business looks. It has a couple of pages of formal wear, tuxedos. I believe they were a not quite bespoke, but more of a made-to-measure company. They would come to you, take your measurements, and then they would alter what they already had that was close to that and get that to you. The company went away in the early to mid 70s because Burberry bought them for their client list, their contact list. So when I found the catalog, this was the page of casual looks, and I really, 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 really liked the that black jacket with the the black turtleneck with the white jacket. Yeah, bespoke is basically when you work with a tailor to say have a suit made, there will be at least 3 separate visits for measurements and fittings, and they cut it and make it specifically for you. And then they will keep those patterns, so if you need something else, you'll still go through the same amount of fittings in the back and forth. But this basically, when you hear Savile Row and suits from Savile Row and English tailors, that's what you're getting, is a true bespoke. And we're talking $2,000 to $3,000 for a suit, but they fit them to you perfectly. When you show up for your measurements, you should have with you everything you're going to carry on an ordinary day: your wallet, your keys, handkerchief, your phone, whatever. And then you will put those, in the various pockets in your suit. Then they will measure you. And that way, when they make the suit, it will be made to hide those things. So there's not any particular bulges anywhere, because they already know what you're going to be wearing and carrying, and they can make the clothes in that circumstance. There's some fantastic information out there. I mean, there's some great Savile Row documentaries, and there are some individual tailors, and to see how they go about running their business. And they're having a really, really hard time right now, just because not as many people need actual suits to do business because they're doing it from home. But there's Anderson Shepherd, there's Jeeves and Hawkes, that started out as 2 separate tailors, and they joined at one point before the moths got to it. I had a fantastic doorman's coat from a London casino in 1971, the Pair of Shoes casino, that was custom for the doorman by Jeeves. And they joined with Hawks, I think it was 3 years later. So, in any case, back to the looks, I really, really, really liked this look, and I had it in the back of my mind. So I was in Belk of all places, and they happen to have white blazers on deep, deep clearance. And I want to say this might have been heading into fall, definitely outside of the time frame for wearing white. It was definitely after Labor Day. So I snagged one that fit me, and then immediately went on the hunt for I found a black mock turtleneck that was also on sale. So I got, the look I wanted for next to nothing, just because I knew what I wanted and I was able to keep an eye out for it. I already had the red pocket square. And actually I need to find the jacket. I've got that's a pure blazer. It was a very, very modern blazer because it had loops on the inside of the jacket to run your earbuds through and a pocket for your, phone or MP3 player. I also have it's a white 3-piece suit from Perry Ellis that I got. The separates all on clearance, but it was this, it was meant to be a 3-piece suit. And I got that to wear as Marvel's Moon Knight. They had done a revival, and he wore basically just white suit, white cowboy boots, and a simple pullover mask. So I did that for Dragon Con one year, and there were precious few pictures. I was not feeling well at all that day, so I only wore it for about an hour, and crashed until about 10 o'clock the next night when I got back to the hotel room. In any case, I had a look. I knew what I wanted. I kept an eye on the clearance sections, and I found it and was able to put the looks together for far less than what the manufacturer's suggested retail price was. The next look is just a simple boating / cricket blazer. I ran across one from J. Peterman that was close enough to the colors as they were clearancing them out. And they had one in a 38 short that fit me perfectly. At some point I may have the sleeves done, but they're not so long it's horrible. But everything else just fits. It's great when I can pull something out of a package and put it on immediately and just have it work. They had this one, and they had one that was white and blue stripes, thicker stripes. And I had to go ahead and get both. But it's all about how do I want to look. In this case, it was less of a, I want to look like this exact cricketer, but it was more of a, I had wanted a boating blazer of that type, and I ran across this one and dove on it. And then I stumbled across the picture later. So another big piece of the puzzle is knowing how to take care of what you've got. It's not a fantastic deal if you only get to wear it once or twice, because it gets damaged in the laundry or it's just not taken care of properly. I've lost things to moths before. Away in moth-proof bags or, cedar in the drawers or what have you. And there's nothing more frustrating than have something you really, really like and to go pull it out, say, calf length Dorman's coat that you absolutely love, and you pull it out and the moths have gotten to it. Now, the one thing about the Dorman's coat, there were no outer pockets. It was a nice double-breasted bottle green, but because it was for a Dorman, there were no outer pockets. And there was only one inner pocket, and it was on the right side because the individual was left-handed. That's the one thing about the 3-piece suit I got from Hector Powell, is the individual it was made for was left-handed, so there's an inner pocket on the right-hand side of the jacket, but not on the left hand that I would normally be using. So I will always go for the wrong side first. It just happens. But that suit had its own built-in suspenders that I will need to have the elastic redone on those soon because it's, 53-year-old elastic at this point, and I've been wearing it as much as I can. But it's got a watch pocket in the waistband of the trousers. So I can wear a pocket watch in that with one of the hanging fobs that hangs out. That it basically looks like a ribbon coming from underneath your waistcoat. That's a watch fob, and there should be a pocket watch on the other end of that. And this is one of the few suits I have that actually has that in it. I just recently got another Hector Pow suit from a different seller over in England via eBay. And it was made in, I think it was either 73 or 74. It does not have the suspenders, but it does have the watch pocket in the waistband. So I can either wear a watch in the pockets, the four pockets of the waistcoat, or I can wear it in that watch pocket with a nice, say, ribbon or a mesh fob hanging out. And that's, it's a great look because you just don't see it these days. And what do I have next? Nothing. And so for the 60-minute to 90-minute panel, I've gone through my slides in half an hour, where for the hour-long panel on Friday, I had to really rush through them to get everything covered in the hour-long time. That's just the nature of the beast. So in this case, I want to see your tips for being dapper on a dime, looking fantastic for less. Because I know you have your own examples of places you've gone, little secrets and tips. Another one that I don't actually have a slide for is just basically make friends with the people at the stores. If they get to know you and know what they're looking for, they might actually set things aside for you. They might call you and say, hey, we just got this thing in that would be absolutely perfect for you. It just pays to be nice. I have two friends, one who sells shaving equipment, soaps and razors and what have you. And he has given me some of the scratched and dent items. He's had some shaving creams that spent too long in the car. They've gotten discolored, still work fine. He'll let me have those for next to nothing. The rule of buying for your large, yes, that's very true. But it also goes with the what can be altered. And normally it's it's what your largest piece is that fits, that you're not going to be able to get altered. So you go for that and you work around it with the alterations and tailoring. I always have to focus on both the neck because that's not something that I can really have done. And if too small in the waist, I know there might only be, say, an inch or so they can let out. So I just tend to, pass on any, say, a suit that's got a jacket that'll fit, but pants that are way too small. More often in my case, because I'm 5'2" and have a 38-inch chest, but I've got a 34-inch waist. And half the time I'll find a suit with a 38 jacket and a 29-inch waist on the pants, and I just have to kind of, let somebody else grab it. Yes, for Evergreen Frog being open, you don't have to go via convention. If you see something you want and you like the look of it, grab it. Don't feel constrained by, oh, I can't wear, this with that. It's your look. The collar construction. I think just like the normal interfacing, you don't want it too heavy. I mean, the ideal is a nice soft collar. I mean, if you really want to starch the heck out of him, you can do that. But I'd rather have a softer collar, so you don't want the interfacing to be too thick. And then particularly if you want, say, a straight collar and you want to use like a collar pin, it needs to be thin enough to allow the pin to either clamp on, slide on, or be able to have something pinned through it. I have a bunch of collar pins that show up that are really meant for women to wear rather than men, because they have like a flower in the center or something like that. Whereas with the men, your tie would hide that. Men don't necessarily wear the collar clips without a tie, unless it's purely decorative. Once again, wear whatever you want to wear. Wear it how you want to wear it, because you being happy is what's important. So I can't tell you how many collar pins I have at the moment. It's well over 100, maybe 200, because when I buy a lot of cufflinks, people don't necessarily know what they are. They know it might be a tie thing. They might, but they'll just come along with. So I'll buy a lot specifically for, say, the 3 or 4 really nice cufflinks that I want, but I'll end up with a ton of tie bars, collar pins, all this other stuff that might still be really cool, but people just don't wear these days. Do I wear any enamel pins? I do. I got a lot in that I'll wear mostly on a lapel. Sometimes I'll wear them in with a tie. It depends on the look or the period I'm going for. They're definitely not as period specific, I guess. They're a more modern thing to be wearing, say, in a tie. But I still have a bunch. There are hats that work better. I don't necessarily have a diagram for that, but you really want it to frame your face. So if you've got kind of a wider face, you'll want a brim that's wide enough to help balance your face out, but not so tiny that it makes your head look bigger, or so large it makes your head look smaller. Things like that. A quick side note on hats, because I try to get this information out there as much as possible. Obviously, Trilbys and fedoras are completely different hats. Trilbys have a shorter brim and they're turned up in the back. Fedora is a wider brim that's not turned up. But what's interesting is both were named for the female protagonist of the story that was named for them. Trilby was a book by George du Maurier. The book was highly popular, very incredibly popular stage play. And the character of Svengali, the evil mesmerist, came out of Trilby. She actually married him. She was the heroine of the story. An actress who played Trilby on stage in London wore a soft-sided felt hat with a short brim that was turned up in the back. The hat became known as a Trilby. It's a lady's hat. Fedora was a play starring Sarah Bernhardt, who was amazingly popular, one of the superstars of her day. She wore a soft-sided felt hat with a larger brim. That hat became known as the fedora. They're girly hats. So all of these men who are trying to assert their masculinity by wearing these hats have absolutely no idea that they started out as women's hats. And once again, I love getting that information out there as much as possible. But look it up. I mean, even if you hit just Wikipedia on both of those, they will explain where the name came from. I just wish I could remember the name of the actress who played Trilby in London. But I mean, there was a Trilby mania. That's what they called it. And there were companies that were selling stick pins with the faces of the various characters. The book went into who knows how many printings. It appeared on stage across the world. And it's been filmed a bunch of different times. More often as not, the film will either be called Svengali or be focused around him rather than the singer Trilby. But that's the story behind those. I don't really look good in hats, so I have more than I should for someone who doesn't look good in them, but I've yet to find the right shape and style that I'm happy with. But that's just me. Any other questions? And yes, you should always point out when a trilby is a trilby and ask them if they are trying to look like a French female singer or Frank Sinatra. Those are the two names that come up when you think of trilbies. And the thinner brim on the trilby works well with the late 50s, early 60s slim lapel, slim tie. And that's the other thing. Your tie should always mimic the width of your lapel. So as you're looking for things, for example, you've got a great tie you want to showcase, make sure if you're buying a jacket to go with the tie, that it, they're not matchy-matchy, they just echo the colors. But, if it's a fairly thick tie, you'll want a lapel that complements that and not one that's either too thin or too wide. The 70s have a lot to answer for. Although that's another thing about the 70s. I only just found out the really roughly tuxedo shirts that they would wear in the 70s with the the color around the edges of the ruffles. Those were actually button-on panels. They were not necessarily a part of the shirt. Let's see, my favorite style of jacket. I like just a nice 60s. I have a lot of dinner jackets, patterned dinner/smoking jackets, and I like the 60s slim shawl collar. But I've also got a green double-breasted notch lapel that I really like. But just your velvet dinner jacket with a silk-faced collar is when I'm not wearing stuff like this. I have a frock coat from approximately 1900, 1910, and I like to wear that when I can, but it's very, very heavy. I was surprised at how heavy it was. With this, I'll often wear a cutaway coat, just like a British. Actually, it was a British morning attire from basically a tuxedo rental shop. And since that's what they wear for weddings over there, I was able to get the cutaway coat and the gray striped trousers for, once again, much less than what they would go for at retail. So for a pink dinner / smoking jacket, they're out there. You just have to keep an eye open, particularly for your vintage sellers. So, and I'll need to I guess add them to the chat later, or put them somewhere where y'all can get to them. But my go-tos on eBay are a gentleman named Hogspear. That's Hogspear. And a company called Victory Vintage. And both of those are eBay UK sellers. Then also from the UK is a company called Savvy Row, Savvy Row. And they sell secondhand bespoke clothing that came from Savile Row. Hogspear does a lot of estate sales over there, but he actually ends up with named lords and ladies clothing. A lot of militaria, but for a while he had some of Sir Christopher Lee's neckwear that he was selling once they had sold off his estate. And I missed out on getting, an ascot and a bow tie. I was really, really unhappy that I didn't get those. But yes, those are the proper links. Thank you. Yes, Hollywood Vintage. Just keep an eye out. And a lot of these places would they may focus on women's clothing, but they will often have some gentlemen's clothing off to the side. Now, there's a gentleman here out of Atlanta. I think he's still on Etsy, but he ran a company called To the Nines with the number 9 and S. And he would always have some fantastic suits. And he catered more toward the rockabilly crowd. But that's, to be honest, so I try to do a lot of shows. And I've done Lolita events, and I've done really well there. I do some steampunk events like TeslaCon. I've done well there. But the one really, really big surprise was I did Nashville Boogie one year, which was it's a big, basically international rockabilly festival. And I did fantastic. And I met an amazing array of just incredible people. Everybody was so nice. But there's nothing like being in a crowded vendors hall and seeing your typical greaser type with the selvage jeans, the t-shirt with the cigarette rolled up in it, or a bowling shirt, and then hearing German or Japanese or Spanish as they're excitedly looking through everybody's wares. There's y'all might be interested in this. There's a young lady out of, I think she's out of Milwaukee, and she runs a boutique called Hollyville. And she has some fantastic vintage and reproduction 50s style stuff that's just amazing. And then if you like that type of lingerie, there's a company called Dottie's Delights. Stephanie named that after her grandmother. And her work is amazing. I think she's out of Nashville. And Nashville Boogie I did, and I got to see them again at the second one. And it's been kind of interesting watching their careers take off. And I mean, Stephanie's outfitted all manner of, I guess, celebrity models and such. I know she does a lot of collaborations with Miss Mosh. But anywho, Any other questions? I mean, I have all kinds of just odd facts in material, but you know, I want to make sure that y'all at least understand and have a good idea of, how you can find the looks you want without paying an arm and a leg. And always hit the clearance sections on websites, the clearance rack hidden at the back of a store. Ignore the outlet malls, because a lot of that stuff is made specifically by the manufacturer for the stores in the outlet malls. It started out as unsold items or seconds. Now a lot of it is tailor-made specifically for that market, and you lose that advantage. Let's see, odd facts. I had a couple of things that I completely missed getting into the slideshow for Friday, but one of them was I had a really nice. Oh, it's not within reach. I had a really nice set of cufflinks and studs that were manufactured by Swank, but the inside of the lid was labeled the Denver Dry Goods Company. And I had never heard of them. And it's like, okay, well, let's do some digging. And it started out as a mercantile in the, I believe, the 1890s in Denver, and changed a couple of hands. Then it became known as the Denver Dry Goods Company and stayed that way until they rebranded as the Denver in 1960. So the logo that was featured on the inside of the box was very specifically a Denver Dry Goods. But when I went looking, I couldn't find it in any of the items I was seeing for sale. I would either get the very 60s, 70s Denver logo, or the much earlier 19th century logo. But I kept plugging away, and I found that they had a catalog that they produced specifically for their saddles and their basically cowboy gear for the working equestrian horseman. Well, I ran across one of those catalogs from a very specific site devoted to antique gun leather. And they do holsters and some saddles and stuff like that. But that's how I found out about the catalog. So I started looking up the catalog, and I found a bunch of them had been scanned online, or at least the covers, at the Gene Autry Museum. And it was there I found catalogs featuring that logo, started with the 1949-1950 edition of that catalog. The 48 had a different logo, and we know that it changed to the Denver in 1960. So that means the stud and shirt set I have are very specifically a 1950s item. I can't get really any closer than that unless I had, the receipt from the person who bought them, but that's rarely possible. I still love it when I get them with the original price tags on them. And in some cases, if they're a boxed item, on the inside of the item, there will be a little tag there from the manufacturer with their original price on. Another nice set of cufflinks and the pipe stem shirt studs that are very Art Deco, very 20s. And the little price tag on it says $2.50. And I want to say I got them for well over 10 times that. But there's still what I love finding these things that are still mint or as close to mint as you can get in the box. That kind of new old stock is just catnip to me in some respects because I love the fact that they've never been worn. You know, they still look fantastic. And admittedly, I treat all of the Blackbird Finery stock as a personal collection, and I will wear stuff uh, when I feel it's appropriate. Most of the still boxed items I try to keep as intact as possible, particularly if they've got the old price tags on them, or if it's some of the larder items come in a box that's meant to be used as a jewelry box. So the little tray or the flat piece that your cufflinks and studs are attached to can be lifted out. And there were 3 velvet lined trays underneath it where you could store any of your other items. Take a sip of tea while I'm stumbling for something else to talk about. What's what's some of your favorite historical periods to, if not duplicate but emulate? I mean, I like pulling pieces from different eras and kind of mixing and matching, and that way you get, an older look, but it's it's kind of neo Victorian or Edwardian. You can't quite put your finger on it, but Victoria reigned for such a huge amount of time. It's not like everybody just stopped wearing what they were wearing and put on new clothes for Victoria and then wore that for 60 plus years and then immediately stopped wearing that and started wearing something else. It never works that way. So there's always this drift across time of styles and patterns. Patterns and prints that I see, um, if it's a really nice patterned silk in like a dinner jacket, I'll have to grab those. I'm I've gotten more of a peacock nature the older I got. At one point, a friend of mine actually stopped and put her hand to her mouth and said, "Oh my God, I just realized your spirit animal's a peacock." I'm like, I'll accept that. I'll take it. Um, but yeah, I like the shiny. I like I don't necessarily go overboard with it, but I've got a nice. It's a modern silk-ish dinner jacket, but it's got butter or not butterflies, but dragonflies on it. And I just, I saw it and stopped, and it's like, okay, well, A, it's on clearance, and B, it's in my size, so you're coming with me. But I do like some window pane check stuff. Um, I mean, I really like this kind of brocadish pattern that's on this waistcoat. Um, I've got 2 uh, waistcoats from this lady who unfortunately is no longer with us, but I did manage to get some of her incredible work. And it's one of my go-tos now. And it's more of a Regency style, but I think it works well for, who I am and what I do. As I'm reading yeah, one of the things I really need is a full gentleman's set of Regency attire. I've got some stuff that's kind of close, but while I have Victorian wear and Edwardian wear, what I'm missing is an actual set of Regency clothing with the drop front trousers, I've got some proper riding boots, but a proper waistcoat. I found and I'll have to see if I can dig up the link, but the Paris City Museum has some fantastic waistcoats from that time frame. And one of my favorites, it's a very, very, very plain black in front. And it's got just a very nice pale yellowish silk backing to it. But the bottom back is split into two very large pockets. And from now on, I'm going to have all of my waistcoats made with two nice large pockets at the back. I mean, it was literally just an extra piece of the lining that was sewn on and just stitched down the middle. And let's see. Oh, yeah. I mean, I agree with everything everybody's been saying. I'm not sure if I would wear tie-dye these days, but I was a kid in the 70s, so I kind of had my fill at that point. But it's, you can get some fantastic patterns that way. But oh, cool. Yeah, I will check that out later. But for example, I wear a lot of. This is a standard ascot, but I'm wearing it as if it was a more Regency style neck cloth, just because that's the way I wanted to tie it today. And that's one of the things I love about ascots is you can tie them so many different ways. This one is just your standard. The blades on each side are matching. I don't have an example around other than this one. Let me see if I can show you without messing up my earbuds. But this particular style of neckwear, once again, I pulled. Where'd it go? There we go. This is, of course, the side that has the microphone on it, so I'm very sorry if I was too loud there. But so both ends are the same. They're these pointed blades that they widen out to the same width, and then technically it's the same width all the way across, but it's pleated where it would go at the back of the neck. And this one, this is from a company called Favorbrook, the British spelling with a U, and I got this one from Hogspear, and he was actually selling small lots that were an ascot and then a bow tie, both from Favorbrook. And I also have two Favorbrook waistcoats, and they do primarily wedding wear these days. And I don't think they're making the ascots anymore. If they do, it's not on their website. But so to what I did earlier was I just tied this like a regular bow tie. So I'll end up tying the earpiece into this, but I'll take it right back off. But fit them around your neck. You do basically one side longer than the other. You tighten it up. I'll put this one out of the way. Bring this piece up, and you fold it across the front. Pull the over it as I lose track of which end I'm dealing with. So you just pull it down over the front. You fold these two together. So you move them out of the way. And since there's a fold on my left, I want to push it through from that side behind them. There's a hole in the knot. So I want to push it that way. Am I doing this right? No, I'm not. It's falling apart. Let me start again because I lost track. Get this a little tighter. It's always hard trying to do it when you're watching yourself on camera because it's backwards from what you're used to. But then you've got your bow and you just tighten it to however you want. You can keep it as a regular bow, which is just really, really big, or you can do what I did, which was shorten the bow itself and then tuck the rest of it in your collar. Now, if you want to do the standard knotted ascot look, you start this way. This is one of the ways to do it. You start this way, but then you just pull on the loops and you pull it all the way through, and that gives you that knot. And then you just fold one over the other and kind of spread them out so they're edge to edge, and then just tuck that in your waistcoat. And then from there, you would add a pin to hold it all in place. And you can use, one of the tie pins that's got the little T-bar to go in your buttonhole. If you want to wear an actual ascot pin that's, 4 or 5 inches, say, you go through both layers of the ascot. You go into the placket of the shirt, back out from the placket, into the inner layer of the ascot, and that's where you cap it. So it holds all of that in place, and all you see on the front is the head of that pin. You don't see the cap, you don't see the bottom of it anywhere, and if you're able to get it straight, it'll look fantastic. I can never get them actually straight. They're always canted one way or the other. But this is the more standard look for this. Now you can also do what's referred to as the waterfall style, which is you just, once again, you do one end a little longer than the other. You cross it over and you just pull it up from the inside and you tighten it and you fluff it out. And that gets tucked away. Oop. Of course, I pull it the wrong direction, but then you fluff them out so that they are, once again, the full width. And you stick a pin there if you want, or you can leave it, unadorned. And you can also wear these, wear it inside the collar like this. And that's your more, casual Hollywood chic. And let me see if I can I'll flip the collar down and lose yet another earbud. But once again, I'll catch those. But you do the same thing, but you just, actually, I often have to undo the second button. But I prefer to do it back up. And that way, I got to stop looking at myself on the screen. And yeah, these are caught. Then you've just got this really casual, it's nice and comfy, Now these a day cravat like this would lighter silk and have very little, if no, interfacing, and that way it's much softer and fluffier, and it'll just rest there against your collar and your neck. I have one that's gray flannel that's wonderful in the winter, and sometimes I'll just wear a dress shirt with a sweater over it. I'll just tuck that in. So, any other questions while we're here? I mean, we're over an hour, so uh, we can certainly call it at any point. I don't think there's anything after me other than the tea parties. So I'm not due at tea until I believe 4:30 Eastern. So I've got time to kill, but I know y'all don't want to just sit and watch me ramble. Most effective method. Well, I try to keep them clean and then stored in such a manner that they'll stay clean. Um, you should never just dry clean things every time you wear them. Your suits maybe twice a year. So pay attention to how often they're being cleaned. Um, you should always like brush a jacket or suit before putting it up. That was the way the Victorians took care of their suits. Was they would use two brushes, one a little stiffer to get most of the dust and stuff off, and then a softer one you kind of go along with the grain of the fabric. And then if you're able to, you turn it inside out and you let it sit in the sun for a couple of hours. And that'll help disinfect and deodorize the clothing. Now, the old Renaissance Festival trick is if you have to wear, heavy velvet all weekend, you'll come home and hang it up and then spray it down with a mixture of water and alcohol, like vodka, that doesn't really have a smell, and that'll help deodorize the clothing and kill the whatever bacteria, so you can wear it again the next day without feeling like you've been dragged across the site a couple of times. Ties with a pattern and jackets with a pattern at the same time. Yes, but they have to be completely different patterns and in different sizes. So, for example, if I've got a checked jacket on, I might wear a polka dot tie, but with polka dots that are, much smaller or much larger than the shape of the checks on the suit. Now, theoretically, if you wear a pocket square, it should not be the same pattern as whatever tie you're wearing. They should never be matchy-matchy. They should echo a color in either the suit or the jacket. For example, if you're wearing a blue shirt, maybe like a pale blue shirt, if you've got a tie that's got a dark blue pattern to it, that'll look good. And then you'd want a pocket square that also has some blue in it. And that way that all pulls together, but you don't want it to be the exact same matching tie and handkerchief. Musty smells. The same with the alcohol. But something I've run across recently is I have some just regular standard Listerine, and I've added some of that to a spray bottle with some water, a 1-to-1 ratio, basically. And Listerine's an antibacterial, so it'll kill the bacteria that's making things smell musty, and you'll get whatever scent the Listerine has, but that'll fade over time. And it's not that strong to begin with, and it'll definitely smell better than whatever your musty item is. Was not developed specifically as a mouthwash. It was just an antibacterial, and it has been advertised as fit for so many different purposes over the years. It's always kind of funny when you run across one of the older ads where it's meant for feminine hygiene or, a bug repellent or, whatever they were trying to sell at the time. They actually came up with the disease of halitosis themselves to sell Listerine as a mouthwash. That was not a thing until they started using it in their advertising. But I used it to get rid of musty smells. I'm not a drinker. I'm allergic to alcohol. So I'm never anywhere where I could pick up like the little bottles of vodka quickly and easily. So Listerine works for me. But that's definitely an old Ren Fair trick because, particularly if you're, say, royalty, you're outdoors, rain or shine, in very heavy velvets, trying to look as regal as you can, and you're definitely going to be sweating and getting dusty and what have you. So if you come home, you brush off the dust, you spritz it with some something to kill the bacteria, you're good to go the next day. Anything else? Because then I will. I'll just put that up for now. But I really enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed chatting back and forth with folks. If you ever have any questions, I'm on the Discord channel. You can email me at jason@blackbirdfinery.com. The card site has all my links. I'm on pretty much every social media as Blackbird Finery. So I'm pretty easy to find, always willing to answer questions and try and help you find things. And I'm running a 25% off anything on my website with the code WITW, Winter in the Woodlands 2020. Oh, there we go. So, feel free to use that on my website. I'm going to try and add some more things over this weekend. The code's good through the end of the month. I may not have something there for everybody, but if there's something you're looking for, please let me know. And if I can find it, I will definitely do my best to get it to you. So once again, thanks everybody. I enjoyed doing this. I'll be in the, I think the Crystal Tea at 4:30. Not sure what room I'm in, but I've been looking forward to that. So hopefully I will get to talk with some of y'all later. And have a great rest of your weekend.